Hi, my loves. It's your dear friend, Paul Galloro, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today as I share with you a 60-minute variation of my new program called benessere. The word benessere is an Italian word meaning well-being, and we're going to work the three components of wellness in our 60 minutes together. We're going to work our strong body, conscious mind, and work with a connection to spirit. Those are the three components that we're going to be working through in three different phases of work. We've got power, surrender, and essence. So let's begin. Today you're going to need 2 blocks. So if you have them, just place them off to the top of your mat. And then we're also later on going to need a bolster. Now a bolster, if you don't have one, it's kind of like a firm pillow. And if you don't have a firm pillow, what you could use, as I have here, are a few different blankets that you can just stack one on top of the other. Make sure that they're very firm blankets though, as something that's too cushiony isn't going to be beneficial. Another option is to grab a few blocks, wrap them in towels or blankets, and then that should give you a nice firm cushion that we'll be using towards the end of class. For now, no props. Let's just move everything off to the side. This here. And we begin. We'll start seated, so if you want to elevate your pelvis with a cushion, please feel free to do so. But we're sitting up nice and tall, wrists dangling over our knees. Let's feel the connection of our sit bones on the earth, or perhaps on a cushion. Our eyes are closed here, and let's just find a few deep breaths in and out. Our breath here is to just settle our body into this moment. And as we breathe in and out through our nose, let's just notice the expansiveness of our abdomen, our ribs, our chest. Softening through our chest, ribs, abdomen. And with every subsequent breath, see if you can lengthen the duration of your inhalation and lengthen the duration of your exhalation. So if you're a counter, you might count your first few breaths just to get a sense of where they are. And then gradually, with every inhalation, you add a count. So maybe if you breathed in for 5, you would then breathe in for 6. And if you were breathing out for 5, you would breathe out for 6. Now in the beginning, your in and out breath may not match. And if that's the case, just do what you need to do to gradually balance them out. Our breath will be our guide for our practice today. So we'll know we're in the right pose when our breath is deep through the entire thing. If there's any areas that are restricted or resisting our breath, that'll pull us out of the pose, which is counterproductive to what we're doing today. So really connect deep to this breath. And on our next out breath, let's let go of a big sigh. And then just begin to slowly bring some movement into shoulders. Maybe we lift one shoulder, then the other, maybe doing a few circles. Maybe we drop one ear and then the other, perhaps chin to chest. And then turning our eye gaze towards the floor, beginning to flicker our eyes. Let's begin on all fours with a little cat and cow. So coming onto all fours, just moving off any of our props if we need to. Checking knees are under ankles, hands under shoulders, and we're spreading our knuckles very wide here. Now to begin, let's start with our toes tucked here. This will start to stretch out through the bottoms of our feet. Inhaling through a long spine, and as we exhale, rounding into cat stretch, really drawing navel to spine. And then as we inhale, lifting tail, sliding heart forward, shoulders away from ears. And starting to flow through this with our breath. Exhaling into cat, inhaling into cow. And our focus here is to really stretch through low back. So think pubic bone as close to chest as possible. And if it feels good to linger in a particular position, you might want to stay there for a bit. If you've been rounded forward, maybe standing all day or over a desk, you might find that cow feels really good, where you open your heart and feel wide across collarbone. Let's take one more deep breath into cow. And then finding ourselves in neutral spine once again. Unhook feet, just give them a little bit of a shake. And let's look right and left. Just looking at our hips for a little bit of a side cat. Inhaling to lengthen spine. Exhaling, as we draw our shoulder towards our hip, we still want to find length on both sides. Taking one more breath on each side, so we're even. And then let's inhale, come back to center, tuck toes once again, and we're pressing hips back towards heels. So this will deepen the stretch on the bottoms of our feet a little bit. Stretching arms forward, dropping chest towards the ground. A little bit of a child's pose action, and if our forehead reaches the ground, maybe we add a little side to side. Spreading our knuckles very wide, just making sure that our index finger is pointed to the short edge of our mat. On our next in-breath, let's round forward into cat stretch, into kneeling plank, shoulders over wrists, and then back to child's pose. Every time we press back, we're sinking our hips a little bit closer to our heels to create more of a stretch. And we continue to flow, inhaling and exhaling. Maybe it feels really good next time we come forward to turn our arm bones in, elbows pointing back, adding a little bit of a bend, press up, and back into child's pose. Now, as we start to heat up our upper bodies a little bit, we want to ensure that our elbows are along the side of our body. We're not squeezing them in too tight, but they're still pointing to the back of the room. Let's repeat this one more time, back and forward. Like an ocean wave rippling through our spine, let's press up. With our toes still tucked, lift knees, lift hips, and press back into an upside down V. With our heels quite lifted here, let's lift our sit bones with knees bent, pressing our palms down into the earth. Then begin to alternate one heel press and then the other. And then looking towards hands, starting to take little tiny steps forward till our feet are hip distance at the top of our mat. Fold. Inhaling, hands to shins, monkey pose, long neutral spine, lengthen, and exhaling, fold again. Let's repeat that flow 2 more times with breath. Inhaling and exhaling. One more time, long, deep breath into monkey pose. And as we engage our inner thighs, let's think of lifting the muscles of our pelvic floor. Our lower abdomen draws in and up, and as our tail presses back, our crown reaches forward. From monkey pose now, bending our knees, taking a seat into chair. Hands can stay on thighs to heart center, or perhaps we're lifting up today, just resisting the urge to flare our ribs. Let's draw everything in, abdominals engaged, ribs knitted in towards one another, sinking back and down. Now let's flow through our chair a few times. Inhaling, rise up. Exhale, take a seat into chair. Again, bringing hands to wherever it feels comfortable. Maybe we take them right to our heart center, releasing any pressure from our shoulders. One more deep breath in, reaching all the way to the sky. And as we exhale, let's bend hips and knees, swing forward, exhale. Inhaling. Exhale, big sigh. Breathe in. 2 more times here. We want to shake everything out as we swing forward. Last one, bonus right here, big sigh. And releasing our hands by our side. Let's start with our sun salutation. Standing at the top of our mat, feet hip distance here, 4 corners of our feet grounded. Inhaling to rise, long and strong. Now press palms together if it feels good, or keep hands separated. If our palms are together, lifting chest, rising up. As we exhale, softening knees, hinging forward into fold. 3 times through our monkey flow, hands to shins, lifting up halfway, and exhaling, fold again. 2 more times. Now you'll notice my knees are quite bent here. It's because I'm working with short hamstrings today. They're feeling just a little tight. So the bend in my knees allows me to flow a little bit more through hips and low back. Let's take one more deep breath in, long spine, monkey pose. And as we exhale, let's bend our knees a lot. Take hands to the floor and step back to a plank position. Bodies long and strong, shoulders over wrists, toes tucked, now lowering to our knees, elbows turn in, crocodile here, as we did earlier, elbows bend, and all the way to the floor. Now, no fingertips here, just fingertips here, no hands, we slide shoulders back and keep chest lifted for cobra. Inhaling, and then exhaling, dropping chest, hands by ribs, up and back to child's pose. Let's flow through that 2 more times, inhaling, forward plank, elbows in, shifting past fingertips all the way down, press feet down, no hands, inhale. Exhaling, press up and back, child's again. 1 more time, inhaling forward, elbows in, all the way to the ground, no hands, big breath. Pressing up, tucking toes, child's pose. From child's pose now, lifting our eye gaze, let's step our right foot forward for a lunge, helping it out if we need to, so knee is over ankle. So with our back knee down, toe can be tucked or pointed, drop into hips, inhale, rise. Big, deep breath in, engage inner thighs, lift chest to the sky. This is opening up through our left hip, inhaling here. Now right hand to hip, left hand comes forward, and let's take it across our thigh. So forearm can come to opposite knee, or maybe our elbow hooks on the outside, and we take both hands into prayer for twist. Inhaling here. If it feels good, for a little bit challenge, toes tuck, knee lifts off the ground. Now in our twisted prayer lunge, engage inner thighs, shifting body weight forward, inhaling. As we exhale, hands to floor, knee down, child's pose, and let's flow through our vinyasa 3 times. Vinyasa is forward into cat stretch, plank, lower through crocodile, no hands here, inhale, upper body only, exhale, chest down, up and back. Let's go at our own pace now, inhaling. Every time we press back to child's pose, see if you can keep toes tucked. Last time here, as we lower down, can we do it a little bit slower? Like that one. Exhale, chest down, pressing all the way up, back to child's pose. Eye gaze forward, our left foot stepping through for lunge this time, helping it out if needed, knee over ankle. Back toes can be tucked or pointed, drop hips, inhale, rise. Inner thighs active, chest lifted, touching the sky. And then left hand to hip, hinge forward, right elbow, left thigh, or elbow to knee. Press palms together, lift chest, and breathe. Now what tends to happen is we drop our hip. See if you can lift right hip, squeeze inner thighs, and then pull right hip forward as your sternum lifts and twists. 1 more breath. Now, if it feels good, toes tuck, power up back leg. So we're pressing through our heel, shifting body weight forward, still thinking of lifting sternum as we twist a little bit further. 1 more inhale, and then exhaling, hands to ground, keeping back toe tucked this time. Inhale, up and back, downward facing dog. So again, this upside down V shape, our knees are bent, we're hinged from our hips, lifting our sit bones high, keeping our ears in line with our arms. Now, through in-breath, let's glide forward plank. Elbows turn in, crocodile, from toes or knees this time, shifting past all the way down. No hands here, cobra, or hands stay by ribs, press into feet and lift into upward facing dog. In breath. Now lifting up through our inner thighs and core, hips high, flip toes, back to downward facing dog. Eye gaze forward, bend knees quite a bit, and let's get bouncy here. We're gonna start a little bunny hop forward to the short edge of our mat. In 3, 2, 1. Now take as many hops as you need till your feet are hip distance, hands to shins, monkey. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Hands to heart. Are you feeling warm now? You should be, because we're getting into the work phase. Let's step our left leg back, face the long edge of mat, heels in, toes out for sun pose. Turn palms up. Now squeeze butt, knees in line with middle toes, and sink. So what's happening here is as we squeeze our butt, our thigh bones are rotating out. That's lining our knees up with our middle toes. If it's too demanding for shoulders to have arms out today, just keep palms pressed together, sternum lifted and shoulders away from ears. Again, the tendency is to flare, take everything in towards midline, and then sink. Of course, smile, because that's what helps. One more deep breath here. Now check this out. Open up arms wide, right toes to the long edge, to the short edge of your mat. Left heel to the short edge of your mat for warrior 2. Heel alignment here. So set it up if you need to. And then turn chest towards the long edge of your mat. And just allow your pelvis to stay where it is. Knee over ankle, inhaling. And as we exhale, you might feel that your feet are widening a little bit, and then we sink. Good morning, inner thigh stretch. Or good afternoon, whatever time of day you're doing this. Let's find a side opening pose. Reach as far over to the right as possible, and then inhale, reach up to the sky, reverse warrior. Now using our breath to breathe into the space between our ribs, soft shoulders. As we exhale, maybe we sink down a little bit more, really loving the sensation in our legs. One more breath. And then as we exhale, elbow finds thigh, side angle pose. Now from here, think of squeezing inner thighs and point your tailbone towards back heel. At the same time, revolve chest, so left armpit opens to the sky. Choice to stay, or grab one of your blocks, place it on the inside of foot, and then you decide the level. You can come up to the highest level, medium level, or a lower level, but just make sure that we're dropping hips to get into this side angle pose. One more breath. Now take your block with you. We're coming back up to sunflower, so heels in, toes out. Palms onto brick, press them together now. Squeeze butt and sink. Woo! High legs. Right one's loving this, yes? Left one's like, hey, when's it my turn? Right now. So we turn our toes out to the side, heel out, placing our block just on the inside of our foot. Check knee is over ankle, warrior 2. Now, strong warrior here. Thigh bones rotate outward, rib cage to the long edge of our mat, chest open wide, inhaling, and then every exhalation finds us a little deeper into the pose. Whew, I'm feeling my sparkle is starting to come up through my skin. Inhaling, exhale, let's find our side opening. Reach as far left, and then inhale up, reverse warrior. Be careful not to come up. We're still working strength, so stay low into legs, lift up and over, and then exhale, elbow to thigh, side angle pose. Remember, tailbone to back heel, thigh bone still turning out, reaching long, depth in our legs, and we have choices. We love choices. If we're going a little bit deeper today, hand can come onto block, or maybe you're touching the floor. Inhale, exhale. One more deep breath. Now, this time, take hand to the floor and walk toes to face the long edge of mat. Block comes under face, and just keep it there for a moment. Inhaling to lengthen spine. Now, fingertips on the floor doesn't feel good. Use your block here. So we're coming up just a little bit more. Checking feet are parallel to one another, knees bent and soft. Lifting tailbone and then lengthening long through our spine. Inhaling. Now, as we exhale, soften knees again. Let's flow through our monkey flow 3 times. Fold. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. going at our own pace. Now listen carefully. Inhale, let's find our monkey pose. Long spine. Right hand comes to the floor. Left hand to low back. Now as we press our tail back, crown forward, start to lift shoulder towards the left side. So hand might be on the floor, you might be tenting fingers or using a fist. Our back hand is on our low back just to ensure that our pelvis stays level. One more breath. And then as we exhale, let's untwist and switch. Fist, hand, or tented fingers, choice is yours. Inhale. Now, long spine, level pelvis, abdominals engaged. Right shoulder this time lifts as crown presses away. Two more breaths here. Now, twists are really amazing for our internal organs. They're also amazing for spinal mobility. And one thing, if you haven't noticed yet, they increase our temperature. So if you're feeling warm, celebrate that. One more breath. Exhale, unravel, fold, and take your block with you all the way over towards the front of your mat, into lunge, and back to downward facing dog. Let's go through a flow here. Inhale forward, crocodile, toes or knees, cobra or upward facing dog, big breath. Hips high, and back to downward facing dog. Now listen carefully. We stepped our left foot back before. We're stepping our left foot forward this time. Step forward, walk to the long edge of your mat. So you get a beautiful view here, high. So from here, let's turn our heels in, toes out, and find sun pose. So again, knees over ankles, shoulders back and away from our ears. Arms out long, soft shoulders. Now from here, clasp hands behind back. Point toes so they're facing the long edge of the mat. Lengthen legs and start to lift sternum to the sky, chest expansion. Inner thighs engaged, press pubic bone forward. Keep lifting heart high, taking one more breath. Then as we exhale, soften knees from our hips, folding in half and over our legs. Now if chest expansion isn't working for us, hands to floor works beautifully. Shake head out no, and then yes. One more breath. Now let's release our arms to the ground, taking our right hand over towards our left ankle. Lifting our sit bones, inner thighs engaged. Shaking head out no, and then yes. Now this one feels like a nice inner thigh stretch of our right leg and a hamstring stretch of our left. Let's take one more breath. And then as we exhale, take it to the other side. Again, find breath. Pressing both feet down strongly, squeeze inner thighs and try to lift sit bones a little bit higher. Keep a small bend in knee. One more deep inhale. And then as we exhale, let's release through center. Walk over towards left foot. Back foot now steps forward and come up halfway monkey pose. Exhaling, fold in half. Two more, inhale. And exhale. One more time. Stay right here. Now listen to the fun we're going to have, a little bit of balance. Make sure that knees are soft, inner thighs are engaged. And as we lift the muscles of our pelvic floor, we want to feel nice and strong in our core unit. Now keep eye gaze fixed on the ground and sternum lifted, almost like we're going into that upward facing dog or cobra that we did earlier. But keep spine long. Now lower abdominal draws in and up, shifting our body weight over towards our right leg. Let's allow our left leg to float off the ground. Warrior 3, we're pressing our heel back and our sternum forward. Now, arms can be by our side. Maybe we take our arms out like an airplane, or maybe we reach our arms forward in a long expression of warrior three. Wherever we are, if this back hip is opening, bend support leg a little bit more and square pelvis to the earth, and then reach in all directions. Maybe we lift our back leg a little bit higher. Doesn't matter how high it is as long as we've got a long line. One more breath. And exhale. Take hands to thighs and stand up tall. I promise you, the surrender portion is coming. We've just got to do the other leg now. Let's soften our knees. Hinge forward halfway into monkey. Breathe. So again, same idea applies. Inner thighs engaged, pelvic floor lifts, lower abdomen draws in and up, press tailbone back, crown forward, and we start to shift over towards our left leg this time. Lightening our right foot, and then sliding back. Whoa. This side is always wobbly for me, so I'm working on finding stability. Same might be true for you, or maybe the opposite leg was true for you. There's always one that's a little bit wobblier. We work towards balance. It's not a definitive thing, balance. It's always something that we strive for, that we take steps toward, and we live. Now, arms by our side, out like a T, or maybe forward, whatever feels great for us today. Oh, we've got 2 more breaths here. Loving every part of our butt right now, aren't we? Ooh, 1 more inhale, and then exhale. Let's release. You know what will feel amazing? Folding ourselves in half. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, folding, folding, folding. Now, hands can be on the ground. Some of us might want to rest our hands on our blocks. Maybe it feels good to take hold of opposite elbows and just allow our head to hang. All right, my sweets, let's come down to the floor. Just place your blocks off to the side and let's find child's pose. Toes together, knees wide this time. And so we allow ourselves complete surrender. If our forehead meets the earth, fantastic. Go for the little shake side to side. Or if you feel more comfortable with a blanket or a block or a towel underneath your forehead, go right ahead. We're just spending a few breaths. Now, after all that power work, we might notice that our heart is pumping. So these moments of stillness and deep breath will allow us to settle, will allow us to get into this. Let's take 1 more deep inhale. Exhale through your mouth, let off some of that heat. And then let's find ourselves in a prone position, face down, moving our blocks out of the way. Lengthening our bodies out long here. And just take right ear to the mat. Give your hips a little bit of a wobble. Soften shoulders, just a smidge. Pressing the tops of our feet into the earth, and then completely surrender. Now from here, take hands by side, and then just create like a V shape with your hands. So we're taking our fingertips off of our mat and out to the diagonal. From here, start to roll one shoulder and then the other. And while we do this, we're actively pressing the tops of our feet into the earth. And then as we do this little swivel thing, we might notice that our spine muscles get a little bit more strong and we bring our hands in closer together. Now, some of us might not be this high. Some of us might be right here doing the exact same thing. It works just as well. Find where you are today. And then press feet into the earth with both hand fingertips are pressed down. Start to lift chest up, inhaling. And then exhale, come all the way down. Again, inhale. And all the way down, using just the muscles of our back. Inhaling. This time as we exhale, let's take our left ear to the mat, hands by our side. Relax shoulders and give your hips a bit of a swish. Exhale a few sighs. You might notice with each breath out, each sigh, you feel your spine get a little bit longer. And if that's the case for you, just feel yourself stretch out. One more breath. And let's take our hands by our ribs, pressing ourselves up, and we go back into child's pose. Keep knees together this time, or as close to together as it feels comfortable. Take your block if you need, and we just round ourselves forward, whether our forehead is on the floor or on our block, or maybe we stack our hands, that might work too. Then take hands along your side body and let yourself surrender into the shell stretch. Let's come back up. Just moving any of the props out of the way. Have a seat. Swing legs forward. And then take one knee to chest and roll all the way down onto your back. Giving ourselves a big hug here. Just rocking gently side to side. And I like to, if my knees are swaying one way, have my head swing the other way. That tends to give it a nice little twisted stretch through your entire spine. Now, I talked about our breath earlier being the guide for our movement, and it would tell us if we were in the right expression of the pose. Same is still true for this part of class as we get into the surrender part, all about long-held restorative postures. Now this time what we want to focus on is with every exhalation, surrendering into the pose a little bit deeper. If there's any sort of pain that you experience, it's just your body's way of saying, hey, could you make an adjustment? And you do. Maybe you come out of the pose a little bit, maybe you shake it off and try again. So just listen to whatever your body needs today. Taking both feet down. Left ankle hooks onto right thigh. Now this might be the degree of the position for some of us, and we'll stay right here. Some of us might choose to lift our right thigh and bring it close to our chest. Our hands come through our thighs and link. Just make sure that you can energetically sense or physically sense which finger is on top, which index finger is on top, because we're going to switch it the next time around. Toes of our left foot are pulled towards our knee. That'll keep our knee safe. But then think of this. Squeeze left butt to press knee out just a little bit. We're not using our elbows. We're going to use our butt squeeze for that. But then use biceps and arms to pull right leg in. If your butt comes off the floor, it simply means that we need to go back here, or maybe we use a strap around our thigh so that we can keep our tailbone anchored. We're here for a while, so breathe. Now start to get a sense of any tension in your jaw. If there is any tension, consciously let it go. And if your mind begins to wander and then you notice, oh, my jaw is clenching again, then let it go. Over time, our awareness of this will grow to the point where we don't clench anymore. It might take some time, but we've got all day, we've got our entire lives, so we just be aware. Let's take one more breath here. And then as we exhale, the leg that we're holding on to, let's release it to the floor. Make 2 goalpost arms, and then try to bring hands close towards one another. So we're kind of framing our head with a diamond shape. And then taking left foot, dropping it to the right side for a gentle lower body twist. Now, our ankle will stay hooked onto our thigh. There's no need to connect our thighs for this one. This will make it just very suggestive for a lower spine twist, but it'll also give us a nice stretch through the outer part of our butt, maybe our IT band. And then again, it's surrender. Where can we find it? Where can we sink into it? Let's take one more breath. And then exhaling through center. Unhook leg. And let's do the same thing on the other side. Starting with our right ankle, left thigh. And again, we might start here. If we're going into our stretch, taking thigh towards chest, linking our fingers behind our thigh, and remembering, if we have the same finger on top as we did last time, switch. It's going to feel weird, but it's okay. Toes towards knee of our right foot, right butt squeeze, pressing our knee away. What can we do to relax our jaw and our shoulders? And so yes, our body still needs to work here to support us a little bit. That's wonderful. But can we turn off what doesn't need to be working right now? Softening our jaw usually helps. If our tailbone has lifted, can we turn it down? Taking one more breath. And then gently lowering our foot to the floor. Diamond shape above our heads. And then we lower right foot, left side. Make any little minor adjustments you need to allow more breath to flow in. And then exhale. One more deep breath. And then as we exhale, we come back to center. Once again, unhook legs. Take feet just a little bit wider than shoulders here, and then just allow knees to gently fall one at a time in through center. Now for a little bit of a lower spine stretch, a little bit of traction for a lower spine, take hands, make this into a little bit of a U shape, and then just place hands at the crease of thighs and hips. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, press hands into thighs, and then you'll start to notice that your shoulders might slide away from your hips. You might even feel a little bit of a stretch in low back. You might even play with the positioning here. I like to think of pressing my thigh bones away and then almost sliding my my hands up along the length of my thigh bone. And then as you do this, can you completely surrender into the press of your hands? And one more breath here. Now listen to this. Relax. Lift hips, press pubic bone, press into thighs again, and then lower down. Relax. Any of the clenched muscles, glutes, quads, hamstrings. One more breath here. And then exhale, relax everything. Take left arm overhead and roll onto your left side, just into a sleeping baby position. Just for a moment here. Let's gently press ourselves up. Coming into our final posture for our practice, and it'll require our bolster, or again, if you have a firm pillow or a couple of blankets stacked one on top of the other. This might actually be good for those of us that are really tall, that might be too tall for a bolster. This setup would be good. You might even want a few extra blankets to make it a little bit higher if you need. I'm going to use the bolster since I have it here. And what we'll do is we'll place the bolster here on the side and placing our right hip beside the bolster. Take your blocks if you need it. I like to sometimes put my block underneath this knee here because I scissor my knees with this one. You might keep your knees together if your pelvis allows for that. But I like to put this block here just so that because we'll be holding this for quite some time, just so that my hip doesn't get too tired or pinched or sore. So from here, hip by bolster or blankets, we're lifting our chest up. Now think sternum lifting, almost like we're going into cobra again or upward facing dog. Inhaling, and then with our pelvis fixed where it is, we're turning our rib cage towards our bolster. Just make any adjustments that you might need for your foot or knee. Again, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Before we go anywhere, think of pubic bone forward, lengthening just a little bit more, inhaling. And exhaling, twist. Now, slowly lowering ourselves down onto the bolster. And we might need to move the bolster a little bit so that we can find our torso right on where we want to go. Now we've got some options. Options are so great. We might keep our eyes facing the way of our knees, and that'll just give us a more gentler twist along our spine. And you might decide this halfway through the pose. We're going to be here for a couple of minutes, so explore both sides. You might stay here or lift chest, continue the twist, and look away. Now, wherever we are, just keep elbows away from your body so that shoulder blades can slide away from one another. Now, I'll watch the time for you. All you need to do is breathe here, and again, surrender into the support of your props. A deep breath in through your nose to expand your ribs, and then a deep breath out through your nose or mouth, whatever feels good. And see if each exhalation can take a little bit more time to let out. What's happening with the muscles of your jaw? What's happening with the muscles of your shoulders? Now, what's happening with the sense of energy we feel in our body? Does it feel as though it's smoothing out? Does it feel as though it's slowing down? Maybe it feels as though it's picking up again. There's no right or wrong here. There's just observation. We have another minute here in this pose, and we'll experience this minute in complete silence. So focus on your breath through this minute, and if your mind begins to wander, it's okay. Notice it and come right back to your breath. Take one more deep breath in. And through your exhalation, if you turn your eye gaze away from your knees, slowly turn them towards your knees and rest your unbolster or blanket again. And then slowly, when we're ready, let's walk our hands in towards the bolster. And applying just a little bit of weight on our hands. Now imagine peeling yourself off ever so slowly. If you have a very firm bolster, grab one of your blocks and place it underneath to create a bit of an incline here. If you're working with blankets, then no block. You can keep it flat, or even with your bolster, keep it flat. And then just turn to face away from bolster. Soles of feet together for a moment, and bring the bolster up along your pelvis and slowly lay all the way back for a chest expansion. What's good about the incline, I'll show you, is that for those of us that are feeling really tight in our hip flexors, this will elevate us just a little bit so that we can take it out of the hips and out of our low back and enjoy it a little bit more. We're only here for 3 breaths. Soles of our feet can be together or knees bent. Finally, let's drop our knees over to the other side this time. Come back up so you're sitting on your hip. And then if you used your block, we're just going to move it out of the way. So we're flat once again with our bolster. And then placing our block underneath our top knee. Left hip up against our bolster this time. Inhaling, lift chest. Exhaling, twist. See, I mentioned that twists are really good for our internal organs. Inhaling and exhaling, squeezing out any of the excess air that's inside of us. Now inhale, lift chest, drag self forward, situate the bolster so that when we come down, we can rest our torso. And eye gaze is looking wherever eye gaze goes. It might be away from knees, it might be towards knees. Now think of breathing in to the left back body and the right side body. As we breathe deeply, let's think of expanding through our back body and our side body. What happens here as we breathe expansively in this position is we invite more space for oxygen. We create space for oxygen. And as our body pulls in more oxygen, it fuels our brain, it fuels our blood supply, which in turn fuels our body. Our breath is also known as our life force. So it's said that if we have a greater capacity to breathe, we have a greater capacity to draw in this life force. Another physiological benefit of breathing deeply and having an increased capacity to breathe is that when our lungs expand and deflate fully twice, it sends a signal to our brain that everything is okay, and it starts to send stress-relieving hormone through our body. It decreases our stress-related hormones. It allows our body to get into a state of rest and digest, where it can begin to repair and heal itself. All simply from breathing. Let's take one more deep breath in here. And if our eyes are away from our knees, let's slowly lift our eye gaze and look towards our knees. And just taking 3 breaths in. And then let's bring our hands by our ribs and slowly lift ourselves up. We're coming into relaxation pose now. So I like to spend relaxation pose with something underneath my knees to take pressure off of my back. You might want to do the same. I also like using a blanket, so all we're going to do is spend 2 full minutes, and if you have more time, I encourage you to stay there, but 2 full minutes in complete silence before we seal our practice together. So find yourself comfortable, legs extended, knees soft, arms out by your side, and let's turn our palms up. Taking a few breaths in and out. Now we'll spend 2 minutes in complete silence, so my voice will taper off. All you need to do is just focus on your breath. Focus on the expansion. I'll let you know when it's time to come up to seated. Start to deepen your breath again. 3 times, full breath in and out. And at the bottom of your 3rd breath, begin to welcome movement into your fingers and toes. Stretch out long if you want to. And then take knees into chest if that feels good. And let's take our right arm overhead, rolling onto our right side. And ever so gently, let's lift ourselves up. Sitting up nice and tall. It is my hope that you feel amazing right now. Let's take our hands to heart center, thumbs pressed into our sternum, chest lifted. On our in-breath, let's reach up to the sky. And as always, the light and the love within me honors the light and love within you. Namaste.